matchup.
Another
Naka
huge
versus Kasparov
is the one that we're going to start
matchup.
with.
You bet.
It's just fun looking at their faces.
But Hikaru, 1.5 out of 4?
Not his best blitz day. He got his queen trapped twice. Keep
Same thing,
keep your lady
H5.
safe.
Queen over
Keep your lady
H5.
safe.
I'm really, really shocked he walked into that G3, G4 uppercut there by Fabiano. And our leader, starting with Wesley So, who's on his own streak with 2 wins back-to-back.
Yeah, don't count him out. We were counting him out. Hey, Wesley,
took off the jacket.
2 losses.
He took off the jacket.
And by the way,
another Scotch.
Basically, Gary is saying, hey, if you play E5 against me, we ain't playing Berlins, we're playing Scotch.
But Nakamura, the
up.
first to do something a little different and play the line with Bishop. Yeah, play the line with Bishop C5 instead of the Knight C6 line.
That's how Gary is. He's so principled. He'll say, yes, you can aim at me all you want. Well, first of all, how are you going to react just in the one day? We're playing right now. So he's decided to go right into a line that he prepared for a World Championship match, and he said, prove it, prove it. I'm going to come in with a few wrinkles, prove that you can equalize against me, and look at this. He's getting an edge on the clock at the very beginning, just about every game.
And by the way, again, I mean, Gary retired in 2005, but he's still showing that his World Championship match experience and his preparation, he believes in it.
Well, he's also very involved in chess. Don't forget about the Rising Stars program where he works with all the talented players in America, the most talented young players, partnering with the St. Louis Chess Club. So he's keeping sharp.
Yeah, but teaching and playing are 2 different things, as you very well know. I mean, you do lose your edge when you go into coaching motif.
Well, I don't think he's coming to this match cold. I think he's had some blitz matches.
Oh, he's training. He told me he lost weight. He was looking forward to this exhibition match for quite some time.
By the way, both of these players lost the last round and have to clear their heads. Somebody could lose again and go 2 down in a row. So they definitely are trying to get their brains fresh. And that's hard to do every round when you only have a couple of minutes to do so after a tough loss.
Well,
Exactly.
Gary's been known to do that in...
By the way, I just want to, quickly point out, there is a trap. I'm not sure if I know it very well. There is a trap that if you go Knight G4, there's some ideas of Knight B5 and Knight C7, but there's Bishop, you know what I'm saying. There's like a double, there's a lot of trickies. So just keep that in mind, that
Here we could probably,
that Knight G4 and Hikaru taking some time and has played Knight G4. So he's basically saying, I'm going to take this bishop if you're not careful. And from Gary's point of view, Gary doesn't want to necessarily retreat the bishop, would love to trade it. I'm just looking at this move, Knight B5 for a second. What am I missing?
So if we play Knight...
You got to play bishop takes E3, right?
Right, so if we play bishop E3 and you play Knight C7...
Yes.
Oh, you were going to play pawn takes E3?
No, I was just going to say,
and then
you're
King
right.
D8, yeah.
And if I recapture, there's this unfortunate move, Queen E5, with the double threat. You got checkmate down here.
Queen H6 also.
Guys, I'm stunned you were able to do all that analysis, and Gary hasn't moved yet.
Yeah, I know, right?
338, it's a blitz game, it's right out of the opening, and he has spent all that time giving Nakamura a time edge, which is not something you want to do in what is just simply a basic opening position. And Kasparov, it's hard to believe he's taking this much time. If we could switch over to the other game just for a quick second, we have pretty much a boring position on the board, but that could explode at any moment right here between Caruana and Wesley. So we see Wesley developing this game, but the game is so blocked that it's going to take a real mistake on either player's part, as they're keeping the time situation balanced as well. So this game not that interesting just yet. We'll jump back to it. Let's get back to our featured game. Whoa, I said that, and suddenly he played the move G5. G5 on the board in the other game. He just played G5 and changed the nature of the position.
Totally.
Whoa, that's a move. He's trying to get that queen away from the bishop so he can trade for it and force a pawn on the E5 square.
Right, and then maybe play Knight C4 or something.
There's a Knight C4 shot too, Maurice. That's important. If you put your queen back on E3 or the D2 retreat squares, Knight C4 is an automatic. I think he's going to have to go for Queen G4. And the question is, will this move E5 be potentially a liability for Black's king?
He played queen back to F3, and the engines are definitely liking takes on e5, and then after queen f3, take it on e5 and play knight c4, and it's black with the initiative in that
D4 is a
position.
threat.
By the way, threats
D4
like
is a threat.
d4 coming. This is looking good for Fabiano. That move g5, really a great moment to play that move. But he has to find this continuation. Bishop takes and allow his king side to be porous, more porous. Will it be worth it?
Exactly. And let's go back to the other game because I'm really curious to see how did he handle knight g4, by the way. Bishop e3,
Knight
g4.
g4 never happened. He just...
Oh, it never happened. He just castled, and he allowed white to have a very powerful pawn on e4 now. And I do like Gary Kasparov's position.
Yeah, but Gary's playing so slowly. He's only had 2 minutes, you know, and his time is ticking even faster than that, actually. He's got
Down
2:06.
a minute and a half, that's right.
He's at 2:06 on the clock. Nakamura with lots of time. They're just in the opening. Why did he spend so long? He's going to have to play a whole middle game, potentially an entire end game, and defeat Nakamura. That use of the clock was not great for him. He did not play knight c2. He played queen d2 in that position. Queen to d2 has been played. And
definitely time mismanagement on the part of Gary Kasparov, Maurice.
yes, definitely. And in the meantime, Naka again, looking at that queen on the king side. Is this queen going to end up trapped on h5 again? That queen is all it takes these journeys. Nakamura's queen sitting on f6. The threat of bishop to g5 is not a pure threat right now in the position. Surprising that Naka himself is deep in thought here. They're playing like they got all day. You're not sitting in the Forest Park right now, guys. You've got to make moves. This is blitz chess, and these two players still haven't found their form.
Agreed. Just
agreed. What's
that is
up
their
with
blitz
Naka?
form.
Nakamura's been playing bullet like for the last 36 hours straight, is what I've heard.
And guess what? This is not 1 minute chess. This is five with 3 second delay.
That's
totally
right.
different animal. And there we go. Knight a5. That I was going to say. This bishop on b3 is just far too annoying.
Gotta go.
Gotta go.
And
gotta
the
go.
problem is that if you try to preserve it with a move like bishop g2, then we get knight c4 into the game.
Knight
which is
b5
gonna
on the
be
board,
beautiful.
ignoring the threat. Knight b5, looking at that c7 pawn, strategical point here, leaving the position just as is. And this is just too interesting on move 14. I'm sorry. They've used more than half their time, and it's only move 14 in the game. Way too much time. And even Naka, in the last 2 moves, how did he lose his minute and a half time advantage?
Yeah,
He's
you're
now
right.
under the clock, under Gary's clock.
This is totally absurd. This is like when you're out of form in Blitz and like my brother is watching me and he's like, Jen, it's a Blitz game.
It's a Blitz
But you're
game.
just getting so wrapped up in the position. It's so interesting.
Well,
so you want to play good moves.
That's exactly what Maurice is saying. It's such an interesting game. The reason why the players are taking 6.5 minutes out of their 10, because that's what
Unreal.
it is.
Naka's used 2 minutes for the last 2 moves.
Remarkable.
That's just unbelievable for it. But guess what? He is Hikaru Nakamura. He is a bullet player. He will blitz out 40 moves in a minute. I mean, the guy is that quick. So we'll see. But will they be good moves as he is now being pressured by Kasparov?
It'll
And
be
by the
better
way,
than most
Gary
people's
preserved
moves.
his bishop with the move bishop c2,
Right,
a6, kicking back the knight, knight quickly jumped back to d4, covering the fi square,
C5.
and c5, a very, very big strategical move. Look at that!
And now
Look at
knight
that outpost
C4.
on d5. It's just begging for the white knight to show up.
That's
on
right.
d5.
Very
But
tricky position.
But now
Pawn on B2 's
Nakamura
hanging.
getting a strong piece of his own. Knight c4 forcing the queen back to c1, and Gary has played that.
Exactly.
But how does Nakamura continue to make use of that knight on c4? Because b3 could be played next.
Well, indeed, f5 is almost you
Kasparovian.
got to play f5.
Play the
Otherwise,
Kasparov like move versus Kasparov.
Exactly.
F5 on the board. by the way.
Otherwise, knight f4, knight d5 is a strategic hammer lock.
B3 chasing the knight, followed by bringing the queen back into the game would be natural. Both sides are basically at a minute and a half in this very dynamic position.
Woo.
Crazy chess at work right now in this game.
Knight back to b6. The f pawn still can't be touched because of the knight hanging on e2.
Exactly.
And very quickly, while he pushes his pawn, if we could just jump to the other position, this one is on fire.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolute chaos on this board. Look at those black pawns steaming down the board and just fearlessly throwing the pawns forward. It's Fabiano Caruana with an awesome position, just simply dominating Wesley So right now. The knight on c7 looks ridiculous. And in the meantime, all of Black's pieces are charging up the board with a vicious attacking possibilities for him. Meantime, Kasparov in the other game has cemented a knight on the e4 square after a trade, and this has to be a bit better for white right now.
Absolutely. I mean, that move c7, c5 was a big strategic decision. I don't know if Hikaru judged it correctly, but at the moment, this knight on b6 a little bit out of play, and this knight on e4 is a monster.
Well, he did his
Queen
best, but he
D2.
probably missed the knight c4, queen c1, f5, that he wasn't getting quite as much play as he desired.
Yeah,
That's
it's very
not
easy to slip there, Jen, in that position.
Too late for that now. Gary with 111, Hikaru with 52 seconds and counting down.
And
And
guess-
what to do? He has to play d5, it looks like.
Otherwise, knight c3, keeping that pawn backward on d6, and don't let a4, a5 show up on the board.
And
Because
d5 might have been met by knight c3, actually. I'm
Yeah.
not sure that he's not losing a pawn in
And
that
he-
position. He has to back up.
So he just played queen f8 instead, and where is
Okay.
he trying to get counterplay here, guys?
I'm not sure.
Again, d5 has
what
to be
about
his thought.
knight takes d6? Let me
And
be
knight
bold.
g5 has been played.
But knight g5 instead, with the trying to get yourself into that e6 square.
And that move is really the move that the Indians like. Knight takes d6 was a little bit tricky, but this move, knight to g5, and positional chess, controlling the game. Nakamura down to 24 seconds.
Unbelievable.
Kasparov with more than twice as much time. Now a
Wow.
trade and an offer
And we
for
can play
another
queen
trade.
d6 in that position, no?
Oh, this is a
No,
beautiful.
queen a1 is hanging. a1's hanging, so you
Yeah.
have to start with rook e1.
And it's a
rook
back
e1,
rank
queen e1,
mate.
queen
So you-
g5, queen e8 is mate,
That
right?
knight on
Correct.
b6 is the problem, and only 14 seconds left for Nakamura against 58
Incredible.
seconds by Kasparov. Kasparov way ahead on the
But
clock.
in knight
He
d7,
feels
but,
it.
but don't we have queen e8 check, and then after knight f8, knight e6? No, there's a mate still hanging.
There's a mate still
There's
hanging.
so we need to
But
make look.
start
So with h4.
No, start with queen e8 check, knight f8, what you were saying,
H4.
and then h3 or h4, make your luft.
That looks
and that
good.
knight on f8 is horrible.
And we're
Horrible.
There
ready.
it
And
is.
he's
And
Queen
played
eight
it.
check, knight back, and now he just needs to not hang mate on the back row.
H3,
He sees it.
H3.
Why not h4?
I was afraid of h6, and the knight would be
Got
forced
it.
to reach. So h3 and knight f7 check, big threat in the position.
And he's chased
King
out, and
g8.
now queen
But look
up.
at knight e4, guys.
Knight e4
Gary
is played.
Kasparov playing a masterpiece here.
No, the only problem is that there are some perpetuals against White's king. that
And
he
he's
has to be
played queen
careful
e7.
about.
He
But
doesn't
played
believe
queen
him.
e7, not caring about the ideas. He does
No,
look
there's
as though
no
check
and
then
look
queen
at
f4 check.
Hikaru.
And here he goes with his king marching towards the center of the board.
There's
Is
no
it perpet?
perpetual.
There
No.
looks like there is no perpet. Queen b2, king up, and that's done. And now
Exactly.
h5.
And now
h5 trying to tickle
h5.
him with h4 at some point.
I don't
but-
believe it.
And
Knight
neither
takes
does
d6.
Gary.
Gary
Well,
says,
h4 has
show
happened.
me.
You can't take with the king. There's knight g6 in the position.
But queen takes h4.
Yes.
Queen takes
But he-
h4 is a
Queen takes
two-pawn
h4 does it.
is
Two
a
pawns
two-pawn
up. Gary
advantage.
Kasparov ahead by 2 pawns and 11 seconds on the clock in desperation by Naka now trying to keep things complicated.
And look at this beautiful centralizing move. Queen e4, Maurice.
Queen f6 being played. 1 second left for Hikaru. The times are not
3
exactly
seconds.
accurate, but check. And now Gary's got it all under control. There's a mate threat, and no, there isn't. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Move the knight. We're seeing the clock times 3 seconds, 11 seconds for Gary. A trade of queens. A trade of queens.
It's
Gary's
over.
up. It's over.
There we
Gary
go. Wow.
Kasparov against the favorite, the beast.
Look at Gary
Hikaru Nakamura.
flexing as he walked away.
He's saying, I can teach these youngsters a thing or two.
And
My
Naka losing
goodness.
2 in a row.
And Nakamura
Oh.
now solidifying his position in the basement. But wait, the other game's not over.
Absolutely.
Let's take
and
a quick
it
look.
looks like a piece up, a bishop for a pawn.
So Fabi's going to maintain the lead. He
If
was half a point
if he
ahead.
can- If
If
he
he
can do
can-
this technically, he's got only 12 seconds left on the clock. Can he figure out the right maneuver to win this game? It looks like
That's a weird ending.
that is. It's not easy to assess right away. Bravely pushing his pawn forward.
I'm
Well-
sure it's got to be
Oh, it's
won.
over now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just got to be a
now.
win.
It's over. Now it's over because he can just bring his king. You can't force the g4 move.
Because we always have f4.
Exactly. We meet. Yeah. I mean, White wants to trade a pawn.
Wait a minute. They just danced with kings all around just a second ago.
It's a triangulation idea. It didn't work, and Fabi is moving his bishop back and forth.
But he's not.
But he
proving
hasn't made
anything.
progress.
He hasn't made any progress in the last few moves. there he goes again. He's not getting any time extra, so he has to figure out how to win this position, and he doesn't see any way to win. And the engines are now saying the position is actually drawn, that he has thrown away the win and he has no way to win easily anymore. It's going to require a blunder on the part of...
but King F4 was a big threat. King F4 and G4.
And there he goes again.
It's a draw. It's a dead draw.
It's been a draw. It's definitely a draw. There's no way to win this position anymore.
We can never play Bishop F4.
And he's calling 3-4 repetition. He's calling a 3-4 repetition. I think he's right. I think he's right that this position has occurred 3 times. I think he is right.
And we will get a confirmation on that. Let me see.
What a fascinating endgame fortress. I've never seen one like this before, Yas.
Yeah, with the bishop on H1.
What a weird one.
Yeah, usually the bishop's on C6 or something like that. And there's international arbiter Tony Rich checking with the monitors that that 3-time repetition claim is correct.
The engines are saying the mistake was F5, pushing the pawn at all by pushing the pawn, and he has gotten the 3-4 repetition. Right here, if we come right here to this position, the engines are saying that this was the problem, that Black could have repositioned himself in the position by bringing his pieces around, and I guess my game is auto-updating, so let me pull that off and go back to this position here.
Moment. Yeah.
And again, somebody's got control of my board, so I'm not going to even fight for now. It's auto updating to the position. But that moment when he played F5 was the critical mistake in the game. That cost him the position because his pawn was so far advanced that it became a target in the position, and that's what it was. Wesley fighting back, not losing that game, getting a draw, but Gary Kasparov surging as well from the win in the last round. So now we see that Gary is drawn even with Fabi, with Wesley a half a point behind. And who would have thought Nakamura would be at 1.5 points as the field starts to distance themselves and he's dropping back. He's going to have to pull some wins together if he's going to come back in this competition.
And Nakamura might be the man to do it, but indeed very unhappy. And we've got some great spectators here tweeting at our hashtag